My name is Don Jackson. I am the founder and chief person at the Raven Media Group. My company helps people create an online presence, being it vlogging, podcasting, or blogging. We prefer you to do all three. You'll understand that as this session goes on. Mediavine asked me to actually talk about repurposing your content. And I thought that was a great idea, but I thought that you could do more with it when you add everything else to why you should repurpose content for your podcast. So that will be part of this, and eventually we will get to it, but we're not going to start there. So I want everybody to show me hands. Do you have a social media presence or a blog? Okay. Who podcasts here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Who is in let's say 6 episodes into your podcast? Okay. At least 6. Okay. Okay. Who has at least 20 episodes? Okay. All right. Who is thinking about doing a podcast? Every hand in this room better go up. Okay. Here's the thing. I don't know if some of you who were in the last session, you actually heard me say something, and it'll actually be on one of the slides. In YouTube video industry, there's 1 billion YouTube channels. Okay? Imagine all the noise right there. Okay? If you're a blogger, guess what? 500 million blogs are out there right now. Anybody take a guess how many podcasts are out there? 750,000. What do you think your odds of getting noticed at 1 billion, 500 million, or 750,000? I think my odds are a little better on that last one, okay? This is my new clicker, and I'm really proud of it for a couple reasons. One, this thing, that's my name, that's my company, and we're going to talk about that. I just love it. I think it's cool. Let's see if this button works now. This is advance the slide button. Ha! Okay. Now, all of you already have an audience. How many have been blogging for more than a year? Okay. You guys already have a built-in audience, which means you're not starting from scratch if you start a podcast. Okay? And how many people can sit here and go, I have time to read everything that you have to give me? Okay? That's what's great about podcasting. Podcasting is something you can play in the background. Podcasting is something you can listen to as you go somewhere. So you're giving your audience another way to digest your information, to advance your brand, your business, your product. So this helps us right here because I just pushed the button on accident because I grabbed the wrong one. But it goes back to what I just said. You have a built-in audience. Okay? So when I first started my podcast, it's called Dad Spotlight. I podcast about being a dad. This is my favorite job in the whole entire world. But unfortunately, you get negative dollars to be a parent. So until that happens, I'm not a billionaire yet. So I have to have a hobby or a business. And my business was, I had a blog. I write about being a dad, and my audience is only my 8-year-old son. It's a daily diary for him. I'm a cancer survivor, and I don't know if I'm going to see his whole journey. So I want him to have something to remember me by. I don't want him to remember Dad was a jackass because Dad was a jackass. Dad was that way because I had to do something that I really didn't want to do. And that's what we do as parents, right? We do what's hard, but we don't really get the time to explain to our kids why we're doing that. So that's why I started but I'm a horrible writer. I am horrible. This beautiful voice you hear and the things that come out of my mouth, that's great, but I can't translate that into the written word. So for some of us, we're better talkers than typers, right? So what's a great medium for that? Podcasting. And here's the thing. People have different ways to consume your information. Like for some people, it's I've got to hear it. Some people I have to see it. Some people I have to read it. Some people I have to feel it. What's great about podcasting is you give them all of that because they can now make a connection with you. They hear a physical voice. Because when they read your blog post, they're reading it in their voice, even though it's in your voice. So in podcasting, you can amplify that information to them by them hearing your voice. That makes that human connection. That allows them to have a deeper understanding and builds a trust in you that they already have. It makes that trust better. So if I say, hey, go use this product, it's a great product. And they go, Don Jackson said it's a great product. I am not going to do it. No, I'm really going to go use it. Okay? So you have a built-in audience. So you've got the hard part done. Okay? Because when I started my podcast, I started with 0 listeners. Even my mom wouldn't listen to it. So I inflated our numbers by pretending I was another human. It was cool for a little bit. So for the first, and here's the key where I asked 6 episodes. Remember when I asked who had 6 episodes at least? On average, podcasts end after 7 episodes. And the reason why that is a statistic is because people are a slave to their download numbers. Because I look at my numbers and I see that only 7 people are listening to my podcast. I will tell you right now, throw that out the window. Your analytics should only be used for one thing and one thing only. When you set up your editorial calendar, it should be set up to use what has been working, what has been resonating with my listeners. So my most highly downloaded episode should be something that I should put in later on. That's my go-to one there. Now my lowest one, should I do anything with that? Probably don't want to talk about that topic. So underwater basket weaving, probably my lowest rated one. That's a made up thing, by the way. I'd get rid of it, okay? Again, it's easily consumable, okay? It's passive. You can have it in the background. You can play it when you're running, you know? And guess what? You know what's great about podcasting? And there's a statistic that says, you know where most people listen to their podcast? It's right there. It's this. We take this thing everywhere, and even grossly into the bathroom for some of us. No? Just me? Okay. Anyway, that's where most people consume their podcasts. They download it off their phone. So when we go running or we go walking or we're taking kids to school, instead of hearing, Barry Manilow, what, you guys don't? Really? It's not on your playlist? It's not on mine either, but it's on a friend's. Then it can play in the background. And then you can also consume that information because we're busy. It's hard to go read somebody's blog post, right? I mean, unless you take your thing into the bathroom, then you have time there. But apparently I'm the only one that does that, so we've already established. So you have to have another way to doing it. Video is the same way. We can't really consume video all the time. It's not passive, is it? So what we're doing by you not utilizing podcasting is you're taking away your interaction with people that are trying to follow you. Because if I have to work to read stuff, if I have to work to look at stuff, then I'm probably not going to get to it. But if I can play it in the background, and then I listen to it at work or whatever I'm doing, and then I hear something, guess what I can do? I can tune in for that brief little second to hear that snippet of information. And you didn't lose anybody. You're actually gaining people. They hear more of the things you want to say. So it's, here we go, ready? Easily consumable. All right, and this goes back to what I was saying, commute, okay? So as you can see there, 150 million Americans, this is just in the United States, 150 million of us drive or take some form of transportation to work. Now, 85% of those people that do that are actually driving by themselves. So, can I really read something while I'm driving? I mean, I could. It's going to cause a lot of accidents, but that doesn't affect some people, but it does. Most people like to, be safe. Now, video, can I watch that? No. Can I even read it if I'm doing a bus? Some people, I get sick when I focus on stuff. So reading and video, out the window for me. So what can we do? How many of us listen to music while we're going somewhere? Instead of listening to music, some people are listening to podcasts. 51% of people in the United States consume their information through podcasts. That's 144 million people. Okay? So, if you're only doing blogging and you're only doing vlogging, what's going to happen there? You're losing people, right? Your message isn't getting out there. Your brand isn't getting recognized. Your business isn't getting the information that you want your consumers to get, right? Okay? So on average, 24 to 26 minutes is normal commute time. I would really like to know where these people live. I don't know where 24 to 26 minutes is a possibility. You could probably triple that, and it's right around where I would do it if I was doing it. Okay? So, but for that 24 to 26 minutes, guess what you have? You have a captive audience. They have nowhere to go, and they just put you in their ear holes. And they want you to listen to their stuff. Right? All right. Here we go. Here's the numbers I was talking about. It's a smaller medium. This is a ginormous thing right here. 5 billion videos are consumed daily on YouTube. 5 billion. Okay? That here, this 750, yearly, there's only 33 million podcast episodes. It doesn't even come close to these numbers. Right? We're not using that. So, I don't really like my numbers here because I definitely have a voice for radio. I do not have a face for video. But that's why I'm always behind the mic. And right there is actually one of my clients right there, Jamie Lieberman. I bug her on a weekly basis. So there's that. Who just said Jamie's here? Oh, dear God. Listen, okay? Right here. She's not speaking. This woman right here. Okay, so anyway, she's one of my clients. Now, everybody's going to say in this room, I don't have time to podcast, right? Who here thinks it's going to take like hours and hours and hours? Jamie, per week, how many hours do you spend for the podcast?
The 30 minutes I record.
There you go. But every week, okay? Yeah, it doesn't. If you prepare yourself to do it, and here's the great thing about podcasting, and if you're going to do video too, I would recommend, again, this is why we say recommend everything. If you give them video, then they have a place to go there. If your podcast now is actually, you could use that as your show notes, is now your blog post, okay? So you're doing the writing anyway, so it's right there. Now, if you do your video and your audio together, guess what? You pull that audio from your video, and now you have your podcast. You just did 3 things for doing one thing. You just created an easier way to do and get your message and amplify what you're doing, right? Okay. So who here actually wants to just do YouTube? No? Why'd you sit on that class? I'm just kidding. Who here just wants to blog? Who here wants to do podcasting? Who wants to do all 3? Give them a 3D model of what you really want to give them. Do all 3. Don't just do one. I know it's horrible. I should just be talking about podcasting, but I think it's silly to just do that.
Have you measured growth between the various channels? Like what percentage of those 5 billion videos are because people want to go to YouTube and watch a video versus a lesser number on a podcast? Or are there growth trends pointing in certain directions?
Here's the thing. Right now, podcasting is growing faster than these 2 are. Yeah. Because again, what is great about podcasting? It's something you can do without any effort. It can play in the background. So I can consume that information without having to put effort in. And Jiminy Crickets, who here knows that this is what we do? We want the least amount of effort for as much as we can get, right? So give your readers and your listeners and the people that follow you, give them that. They're begging for it. Okay? All right. Here's the great thing about podcasting. How many here does sponsored content? How many here do advertisements on your site? How many here already do affiliates? Why get paid for just one thing when you get paid for all of it? Okay? This right here is just the revenue from ads in podcasting. I have a client that wanted us to get them on to do an ad on Mike Rowe's podcast. Anybody know who Mike Rowe is? He's Dirty Jobs guy. Okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. So my client wanted to put one ad on his thing, and he wanted to do it for 3 months. By the way, if you're going to do an ad and you want somebody to do an ad on your stuff, on your podcast, make it for 3 months. Lock them in. Okay? And you're going to have 3 spots on your podcast where you get ads. Beginning, middle, and the end. Your beginning, that's where they pay the most amount of money because that's where all the people are starting to listen. If your podcast stinks as it goes on, then you're going to lose that second one. You're going to have, that'll be a lesser one. And your last one, hopefully everybody stayed all the way to the end and you have that last one. So when you sell your ads, you're selling it that way.
How are people getting ads? Is that what you do?
Yeah. So what happens is you go and either you make a professional ad, which is they give you the content, you read it as them, and you play music in the background, and it's a break. And when we recommend people do ads, we tell them do them in 15-second increments. The reason for this is every podcast player has a 15-second skip. So you make it at 15, 30, 45, 60. That way your listener, which by the way, 65% of the people listening to your podcast are going to skip that ad. Do not repeat that to anybody that you're trying to give an ad to. But the reason why they do it, and the reason why we make it 15, 30, 45, and 60 is because of that 15-second skip. If your listener knows I skip 15 seconds, that ad keeps going. I skip another 15 seconds, I don't hear the ad anymore, that means the episode's starting back up, right? So don't make it any more than 60 seconds. Nobody wants to hear you drone on about buying, wheat flour to make, whatever that is. I don't know. I'm not a cooker. I'm a buyer. So that's what you want to do there. But all right, let's go back to my story about Mike Rowe. So my client asked how much for the 3-month thing for one ad spot. I will give 3 guesses. Anybody want to do the first one? What do you got?
No answer. Yeah.
For 15 seconds?
This is the 30-second radio spot.
Okay, $250,000.
For the total or per episode?
Oh, no, for that one, you're wanting a full thing?
I want it for one episode.
Okay,
One episode.
God, I can't think. I don't know.
Okay, anybody? Who thinks it's 10,000? Raise your hand. 20,000. 35,000. $55,000 per episode.
Per episode. He drops every week. That's one spot. One spot.
But how many listeners does he have?
Now, all of you do not have,
We're not Mike Rowe.
you are not Mike Rowe. So he gets about 500,000 downloads per episode. My small little podcast, even though I don't do anything with it anymore, gets at its peak, got about 16,000, 17,000 downloads. So that's where you're probably going to go. Now, when we left and we did our last spot, we got, what was it? I think it was $8,000. $8,000 for one episode, for one spot on our episode.
On your one that's getting that many downloads.
No, that's our 3-month deal. Remember, 3 months. You want to do that? You want to do that for 3 months.
So
Lock
you
them in
want
for 3 months.
8,000 for 3 months
For one spot. One spot.
each time.
Each episode. We drop 2 episodes a week. Dropped on a Monday, dropped on a Thursday. All right? And don't get locked into everybody going, and this is the thing that everybody always says, how long is my podcast going to be? How long should it be? I hate that question more than any other question in the world because I don't know your audience. Guess who does? You. You've already established that we have a built-in audience, right? So we know however long it takes to get that message across, that's how long our episodes are. Jamie's on average is between 35 to 40 minutes long. But at no time have we ever said it needs to be this amount of time, right? When we started it, I told her my advice was talk until you get the message across. There's podcasts out there that are 3 minutes long. There is a guy that drones on for 8 straight hours. He gets 10 frickin' thousand downloads per episode. This guy talks every God blessed day. Who the hell wants to hear a guy talk for 8 hours? There's 10,000 goofballs that want to do that. So here's the thing. When somebody says, where am I going to find an audience? There's somebody that wants to hear you talk. Be it for 3 minutes or 8 hours. I can't even stand myself for 30 seconds. I don't know how this guy can. And he's by himself, by the way. He's not a co-host or anything else. He's talking by himself for 8 hours.
I don't want to jump ahead in your content, but I'm just curious. I mean, as a food blogger,
Mm-hmm.
as a recipe blogger who does not sell products or services, how can I? And I've no desire to be on YouTube. I mean, it's not an option. But I'm just trying to find another form of revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how can I take explaining how to make a cake? I mean, people need to see the directions. So what do I just can't grasp the concept.
Do you know where they get their directions? Anybody want to answer?
Well, my site, I hope.
Where are we going to get our recipes and stuff like that? Where? Show notes.
What?
Your show notes. Your show notes. It's your blog post now. So all the stuff you have is right there. So basically, you're just telling these people how to do it.
So if you're putting your blog post into the show notes, is that going to be considered duplicate content?
No. What you're doing is here. Hold on a sec. Okay. So we're gonna go to this, and this is where we go to where I was originally asked to talk about repurposing your content. Okay. So we're gonna get there, but hold on. Okay. So to finish this up, we already do affiliate links, and you can still do that for your podcast. Again, that'll go back to where you get where you already put it in your show notes. That's your blog post. You're gonna get it there. Donations, Patreon. Anybody heard of that? Okay. There's a lot of podcasters that are doing it. Hey, go contribute to my Patreon account. If you want more, you can give them some different content there where only they can get it if you're a Patreon subscriber. You know, I don't do that because it's way more work than I want to do. I mean, I'm going to talk and then you're done. Let's just move on. Okay, here's the repurpose your content. Okay, you already have old posts, right? That right there is now show ideas. It's an outline of something you can already do. You already spoke about the material. You already wrote the material. Now you just talk about it. So you're talking about your cake. So I have on my podcast, remember I said we did Mondays and Thursdays? Or we dropped 2 episodes? Thursdays was a shorter version. It's more like our normal podcast is between 45 minutes to an hour on Mondays. Those are our Monday drops. Thursday drops were shorter, more concise, one topic, one thing. So in this case, and we would bring special guests on for that. So we'd bring a dad that barbecued. So he would come on and talk to us about barbecuing. He would say, this is what I do for this recipe. We would go through it, he would talk about it, and then we'd put in the show notes his recipe on how to do barbecue.
And when you say show notes, you're talking about something that gets emailed to them?
No. So here's the thing. How many... I guess I skipped ahead and I shouldn't have done that, but here's the thing I'm going to tell you. Who thinks your podcast has to live on a totally different site that doesn't have anything to do with your current site? Your podcast can live on your current site because it has its own RSS feed that'll be picked up somewhere else, like Blueberry, Libsyn, Podbean. We always recommend Blueberry because it has the best analytics. Okay? But it can live on your site in a subsection. Jamie has her own site. She used to have, when she had Business Ease, they did everything there, and it still lived on that site. So it can still live there just as a drop-down. And so on my site, we had written content, and then we also had our podcast. But our podcast still had our show notes, which is where we get our SEO. So when you create that editorial calendar that we talked about, this is when you start dropping those keywords when you're actually saying it. Because you can go get your podcast transcribed. And your podcast show notes can either be a couple sentences, or it could be War and Peace. You could transcribe your whole entire episode, let it live there. That's a blog post. So, but when you're talking about it and you're creating your editorial calendar, you're creating your content by going, I'm going to put these keywords in here because I know they're going to work. And again, you have all of that extra stuff right there. And you're not doing any extra work. You already are doing the work by having these ideas anyway. And you have old content that's already waiting for you to do something else with it, to repurpose it. So I know I have, remember I told you about analytics? So same thing with your site. The best material that you have should be the stuff that you use later on. I know it's going to work because it's already resonated with my readers. Right? Okay? All right. Any questions on this? Did we cover that okay? Yeah? Okay. The other thing about podcasting is it promotes you as an expert. Okay? There's, again, 5 billion YouTube people out there, right? So it's hard to filter through everything to find that one person that somebody will waste their time to go and say, this person's really good. If you share your stuff with podcasting, then it creates you as an expert. I mean, Jamie needed all the help she could get by being promoted, and so she needed to have a podcast. Nobody would know about that. I was talking about a different Jamie. Okay? I didn't because I didn't have this. Now I'm doing it. This Jamie right here needed help. So whose podcast? Oh, Jamie's? What is it again? No, it's the Fearless Business Podcast. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. I can tell you they've had one guest on twice, and he is amazing. Just saying. No, actually, I think he's been on 3 times. But, you know, he is my favorite guest. I'm not going to lie. Oh, and there's some people in this room that have been on the show. I had to fix her audio really well.
But that guy, he's not coming back.
Yeah, apparently this guy's not going to ever talk again. Yeah. So it creates you as an expert, though. And so if you get that, then it promotes you, and that's what you want, right? How many people here want to go and speak more about the stuff that they're doing? How many people here want to share that information? Yeah, and this is where you're going to do it, right here. And so, and this is where people then will look to you and go, man, they know what they're talking about. Okay? And again, is it any extra work? No. Right? I don't know how many more slides I have left. Oh, here we go. So I like to end all of my presentations with this particular quote. And the reason why I like to end with this particular quote is this. So I'm going to go ahead and read it because I love it. So it goes, gentlemen, we are going to relentlessly chase perfection, knowing full well we will not catch it because nothing is perfect. But we're going to relentlessly chase it because in the process we will catch excellence. I'm not remotely interested in being just good. That last line is the best. So I will tell you, if you're going to create a podcast, do it the best you can possibly do it. Make sure your audio sounds good, because I don't care how great your content is. You sound like garbage. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to hear it. And podcasting doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, Jamie's is because I'm very expensive. But I didn't say it was good. I just said I was expensive. You guys notice that? But here's the thing, anybody can do it. My company teaches people how to do it all the time. You can do all of this stuff yourself. It always comes down to bandwidth. I can tell you if you edit, that's most of your bandwidth. So for every half-hour episode you have, tack on an extra hour. Tack on an extra hour after you've edited for a while. If you edited for the first time, that's probably going to take you 5. And it's probably not going to sound great because you're going to mess with it so many times that you're going to screw it up, and then you're going to call somebody like me, and I'll say, hey, just do this, this, and this, and you're back down to an hour and a half. Okay? So every half hour, add an hour. So if you have an hour episode, 2 hours. Okay? And it's not that hard. It really is not that hard. If you get away with anything, you don't want to edit, then just get a good microphone. You can pick up the ATR, Audio-Technica ATR 2100 for about $75 on Amazon. Okay? The best mic out there is a Hi-L P40. That's a $600 studio mic. That mic and that ATR are just a little bit lower in sound quality. ATR, it's Audio-Technica ATR 2100. Okay? And if you guys have questions for stuff like that, you can just email this guy at the Raven Media Group. Okay? I will answer any questions you have. But if you're going to do that, that's the best advice I could ever give anybody is don't cheap out on a good microphone. And that's a good microphone.
I have a question about
Sure.
the ATR. So I would, if I were doing this, I think I would want to try to shoot my video at the same time. Would I be able to capture the audio with that ATR 2100?
Yes, so here's what you can do. You can start a podcast today without video, by the way. You can start a podcast today with your laptop, a microphone, a pair of headphones, and if you are unfortunate to have a disgusting Mac, you can have GarageBand or Ecamm, which you can record with Skype. Usually we recommend Skype for our clients because everybody usually has Skype and they don't have to do the extra stuff to do Zoom and stuff like that. Zoom's better because you can do other stuff, but if you're starting out, don't put a lot of money into it. Spend the money where it needs to be spent. It needs to be spent on a good microphone. Okay? Everything else I can tell you is out there is free stuff. Audacity is free editing software. It costs you $0. Okay? When I first started podcasting, by the way, by trait, by a past life, I was a forensic psychologist. My son was born. I decided to get the heck out of that business, and I wanted to spend time with him. So for the first 5 years of his life, I was with him 24/7. And then I realized when he started kindergarten, gee, mini crickets, I got to do something because I can't watch Maury Povich all day. There's only so many lies and paternity tests you can watch in one day. Okay, so I taught myself how to do it. And when I first started this journey, so many years ago, I listened to all the big names out there. They said, you need a mixer, and you need this, and you need that. And it was like, it's like $1,000. And I hadn't even pushed record yet. You can start a podcast with a hosting site for under $150, $200.
What?
$150, $200.
What if I'm needing someone to edit it for me?
You find somebody like me.
Okay, but I'm saying, what's budgeting purposes? What do I want to budget for that? If I have a...
It's like a lawyer. You get what you pay for. So you can go on Fiverr and you can find somebody to do it for $3. Yeah. You can find somebody to do it for $3. I'm not going to lie. Fiverr, you can do it for $3. I don't charge $3.
So I do a podcast with a friend that is not related to what I do in my blog at all. So we have a domain, we've recorded like 3 or 4 episodes.
And you started at 0 listeners, right?
Well, yeah, like.
How hard was that? That was hard to get.
Well, no, like you're gonna, like I haven't gotten anywhere because we've recorded the episodes and I'm trying to learn how to edit, but like, so we recorded in GarageBand because I have the alleged.
You can edit there too.
So like, is that where you would recommend editing that, is in GarageBand? Because I was.
Here's the thing, it's already there and it doesn't cost you anything, and here's the thing, like for me when I edit a client, first of all, I actually have a conversation with my client so I know how you're gonna talk. I know how your mannerisms are. I know that if you're a heavy breather, that I need to get some of that out of there because nobody wants to hear that person, in their ear. Some people do, but that's a different podcast. Okay? Yeah. So you have to ask yourself, how do I want it to sound? So most of the time when I teach people to edit, you can see where that intake of breath is, either before or after. Yeah. Okay? And then what you do is you just highlight that, cut it, but you have to make sure you cut it in a way to where you're not going to cut out stuff that you're trying to do. And that just comes with time.
Yeah, my biggest issue is that there's two of us talking, and sometimes I want to cut out
That's when you record each other on two different tracks. And the way to do that is there's other software out there you can use to where you're each, like when I record, I have my client record, and then I record. I'm already recording on two different tracks. She's recording on two different tracks. If I have another one, then I have another redundancy in that. That way I never lose that. Because here's the thing, when you lose a good interview, there's no getting it back. You can't push reset. Because first of all, that person's going to get angry that they have to go back again. And second, you're not going to recapture that magic that you had. Because when you have that, it's gone. So for you and your question, there's people out there that edit all over the place. It's just you need to find, and then there's different parts of it too. There's editing, there's production when you put all of that stuff together, and there's a producer. Jamie has the Mac Daddy package, so she gets it all. And so what you have with the producer is I will come on, I will talk to the person, I'll be the heavy on the interview. Because when you interview somebody, you don't want them to be angry at you. You want them to be angry at somebody else. So I'm there to tell them, your mic sounds like crap, you should change that, and we're not going to do this if this doesn't change. And then I also will be there to cut them off and to go, I need Cliff Notes, not War and Peace. I need you to shorten that answer. You have great information, but I need that to shorten down. And some people get offended by that. And when they get offended by that, I'm the person they need to be offended to, not my host. My host is the good cop. I'm always the bad cop.
So I'm the podcast dummy, okay? I've never listened to one. Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to interview Brandy, and Brandy lives in New Jersey, New York. Is that, do you have to have that person sitting with you?
This is where Skype comes in.
So if you have a Mac, may God have mercy on your soul. You can get Ecamm. It's a free downloadable thing that you can record Skype. Oh, it's not? Oh, it's a one-time fee of $30. Yeah. Pamela or Call Note are free on PCs. And that's for, Call Note's free if you don't get the Pro version. So I recommend you get the Pro version. Again, it's $30. And that way, it allows you to do those multiple tracks we just got done talking about. And that's what you want. You want multiple tracks. So if you have somebody, if one of your hosts is coughing and they forget to mute their mic, if you're on one track, there is no way you're going to save that. But if you're on a track, they're on a track, and everybody else is on a different track, then you can repair that. I'll give you one story real quick before you say anything. Real quick, one story. We had an interview with Jamie one time where a lady was literally nursing next to her earbuds. So we heard every gulp, we heard every noise, we heard how enjoyable it was. Every cry. Yeah, every cry. And then after the interview, Jamie said what to me?
I'm never going to get this baby.
We're not going to save it. Yeah. And what did I say?
I'll try.
I said, we'll get it.
He did.
And then when you heard the episode?
He didn't hear it at all. It was
Not
crazy.
monkey.
I don't know how you did it.
That's
You're
why.
saying you're anti-breastfeeding.
Anti-women, anti-mothers, anti-babies. I was actually cool with leaving it in, to be honest, because, I'm a working mom, she was a working mom, but it was overly distracting. Like, it was really loud.
So here's the other thing, too. If a lot of us here work at home, right? I mean, a lot of us here work from home. And Jamie works from home. So the first conversation we had was, Jamie's like, how am I going to do when I've got background noise, I've got construction.
I live in a city.
Yeah, she goes, I got construction back here, I've got this, I've got that. And the only thing I told her was, lean in. You work from home. Don't hide from that. Embrace that. Because people need to know that everything's not perfect at home, right? We're not in a studio. we have noises and stuff like that. What's your question?
How are you getting the separate tracks? Using
Okay, so what happens is if you get the programs, now this is the free programs or the paid program. If you're doing the free program, everybody gets recorded on one track. So that means everything that goes from my microphone, your microphone, the interviews.
So you have Skype,
Yeah.
You're
and
using
then you
Skype.
have a recording
Yeah.
with plug-in within
So these are
Skype.
two
Have you ever
separate
used
things.
Ringer? I've heard that's like a thing.
Ringer is not great because here's the thing. You have to have that, and then the person that you're talking to has to have that, and you're asking your guest to do what? To download something so they can record one time with you. And you don't want to do that.
It's really easy.
Skype, everybody has
Want to
Skype.
have the conversation just for someone.
Yeah, you just call somebody on Skype, you turn
Yeah.
your video
So they
off,
don't
or
have
leave
to
it
have
on.
a special mic or anything else.
Well, I mean, I'll say that, I don't know how you should talk, but I will say that like the earbuds for a guest are typically fine. It's just where Don comes into play for me is I can't hear some of the really bad background that he picks up.
Okay.
So like sometimes people, like my hair, I have a real mic, I have the mic he's talking about, and I use earbuds that are not, or actually I use the over the ear. They're like $40.
Yeah.
But I'm a fidgeter, so like I move all the time, and so he'll come in and be like, "You're moving." I can hear like this going, or like I have a co-host and her hair was like on her mic, so that's the problem with the earbuds, and I will never hear that, but Don picks it up, so he hears, and those are really distracting. That's what.
And you're producing while they're recording.
I'm on the call the whole entire
Yeah, so it's just adding a third person to a Skype call, and then we just all hit record.
Yeah.
And then we upload them to a drive, and he gets all of them, and then he works his magic between all various.
And
But I don't know how you do 2 tracks. How do you do 2
So-
tracks? What do you use for that? It's
so-
not Ecamm.
Ecamm does 2 tracks.
Oh.
You only send me one, but anyway.
Well,
No, it's okay. It's okay. So to answer your question, those programs will record people on individual tracks. So their software is designed to put each person on a separate track. So when you record it and you bring that download into your editing, you're going to have 5 tracks.
Like those programs. What's the name of them? What are you talking about?
Oh, so there's Ecamm for Mac users, and then there's Call Note Pro. That's when the paid version of that's the only way you can get those tracks. Or you can go Hindenburg. Hindenburg's a little more expensive. It's like $300 and something. So again, if you're going to get past the set, remember we talked about how many episodes?
6.
Get past the 7th episode. When you get past that, then start spending money. But before that, go as minimal as you can.
So I was just gonna say, like in GarageBand, like you can do separate tracks, which I figured out, but you have to like, it wasn't easy because then you had to go into your Mac like audio.
That's if you both are in the same room.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So like me and my friend who do it are like we do it together in the same room, so our mics are like we're in the same room. So I figured out how to like set up 2 tracks, and then so I've got that part down. Like I feel like I'm going about it in like the most lazy fashion, like, and I'm like, let's just keep recording things until I figure out like the next step.
So, yeah. So for me, the things that like Jamie said I was doing, I'm not just listening for the sound quality and stuff like that. I'm listening to make sure our guests are actually answering the questions that she's asking. So, and I'll send a separate message going, "Hey, Jamie, she really did not answer that question." And Jamie most of the time will know it, but sometimes, you know, she'll get distracted, and it's my job to make sure we stay on track and everything is there. But again, that's more advanced, and if you're going to pay money, then go for that. Yeah. I mean, it's no different than, like I said earlier about a lawyer. If you want a lawyer, anybody can be a lawyer as far as that goes. Not anybody can be a good lawyer, so don't hire Jamie. Just kidding.
Whoa.
Hire Jamie. Just kidding. Okay, any other questions? Was this helpful? Was this some good takeaways? I'm going to remember none of this, by the way. Yes, ma'am.
So like, if you started from the very beginning, assume you know nothing, you just want a podcast, you have Skype, what do you do?
What do you mean?
Well, you were talking about you had to have Ecamm, you had to have Audacity for the editing stuff.
So what you do is after you record all of that,
Yeah.
then you put everything in Audacity. Then you put, this is where production comes in, you put your music, all of that jazz, and you put it all together. Once you create that file and save it, then you upload it to Blueberry, which is going to live. The other thing I like about Blueberry is it has its own plugin for it's called PowerPress for WordPress. So what's great, it's just drag, drop, publish. That's what I like about it.
And does that cost money?
No, it's free. Well, Blueberry, it depends on what you do. So if you're going to drop one episode a week, then you're going to get the 20 gigs, which is about $20. If you go with the baseline, that means you're dropping every other week. That's $10. So after you do all that, then you publish it and you're good to go.
Can you give us an example of a website that has a podcast on it that we could just listen to as an example?
Jamie's.
Okay, so what's the
fearlessbusinesspodcast.com. It's just a podcasting website. Aaron?
Yes.
So, in terms of finding advertisers and launching a podcast, since some of us do already have like brands that we've built, do you think that
You already have built-in advertisers, right?
right? So, do you think that like instead of producing those first 6, there's like a value in trying to like prep a, like find that initial sponsor and be like, we're gonna launch this new thing together? Do you think you need like that content to show them like in the first place?
That's a hard sell. It's a hard sell simply because they don't know what they're getting. They know what your written work sounds like. But here's the thing. Everybody can podcast. Not everybody should podcast. Okay? So, let's say, and here's the thing. Your first 7 episodes, they're going to be rough. They're hard. I mean, Jamie's an established speaker. You guys have all heard her speak. She struggled like the first 10 episodes because when you click that microphone on, I don't care how established you're. We've done interviews with people that are newscasters, they're on TV, and you hit record, all of a sudden they think, first of all, they're live. They're not, because we can record everything. I mean, we can edit everything, so you can mess up as many times as you want. You can drop as many F-bombs as you want, and I'll get those out of there. But when you turn that mic on, people change. They change, and it's like, you go, where is that person I was just talking to 5 seconds ago? Because we've had interviews where the person was great, they were established, hit record, and I'm like, what the frick is this human? They can barely formulate a sentence. And you're like, where was this? There was one, for all the years I've been doing this, we've only had to drop one episode, and it was this lady that just basically gave a huge infomercial. She'd answer like part of a question and then go right into an infomercial. And I was like, I want the person back that started that was nice, they were informative, they gave clear, concise answers. But again, to answer your question, that's a hard sell simply because they don't know what they're getting. So that's why you want to have some episodes there and get your feet wet. Get established a little bit before you start asking those questions, because again, you're going to sound rough. And it doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to sound rough. And it takes about 7 to 10 episodes to find your voice, right? Because we all have to find our voice writing. We also, as silly as it sounds, we have to find our voice when we're doing a podcast. So I will end, Megan, on this, okay? Talking about sponsorships. Right now, podcasting is what blogging was about 8 years ago, where they didn't know how to use you, how to get an ROI. Brands didn't understand it. Because here's the thing, podcasting is not like radio. Radio, you have stuff that you can get the ROI and tell them what you're going to get. So when you go to sell your ad or go to ask for an ad, don't go off download numbers, because that's not your reach. Your social shares, your website visits, and your podcast numbers, that's your reach. If you have a co-host, you just amplified that reach, because now they have their social shares, their personal website, they can share all your stuff. Okay? So when you go, don't sell just the download numbers. Okay? And if they ask, just tell them, And here's the thing. Everybody's gonna get caught up in those 500,000 downloads. You're not Mike frickin' Rowe, man. You're not Joe Rogan. We don't have that value of name. I'm Don Jackson. barely any of us in this room knows who I am. And you guys have sat in here with an hour with me. So don't get caught up in those numbers. Like, I didn't think as many downloads as we had as our peak was impressive. But then when you're in the industry long enough, you go, for somebody who's a nobody, that's impressive. And so, you know, that number value, think about it, $8,000 for one episode. Even if you're getting, huh?
Your download number?
My download at its peak was about 17-ish, 17.5. Okay? So, but here's the thing. You can still get decent numbers. Let's say you get a $200 sponsorship, okay, for your first ad. Do the math. That's $200 for one, and you're dropping every week. I mean, you're getting, what, $800 for 4 episodes? That's just for one ad spot. So I hope this was helpful. I hope somebody and everybody got everything. If you want to talk to me, I'm going to be around. Please email me if you have other questions. And hit record, man.